don't you throw those greens away. They're so good for you. I like to cube up my turnips and then add the chopped greens in with it.
All I have needs, I have not provided.
If you ever need to lose a few pounds, in my opinion, the best way to do that is follow a whole foods, plant-based diet. The pounds just come off naturally. So that's what this recipe is going to be. Whole foods, plant-based. There's not going to be any kind of animal anything, and no oil as well. Now you can use oil, you can use animal fats or animal flavorings like broth if you want. That's fine. Just you can follow along and you can do what you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and take the roots off and process the greens first. The greens cook up a lot faster than the roots do. You can cook them together if that's easier, but then the roots turn to mush. And I want my roots to have a little bit of substance. They need to be tender, but I don't want them mushy either. So the first thing you got to do, you got to wash them. I'm just going to give the roots a real quick rinse. They don't have to be perfect because I'm going to be peeling that outer skin off. Now the trick to your greens, I don't care for the stems. You can leave some more than that on if you want, but I just prefer to have more of the leaves. So if you don't want any of these stems, you can strip them like that. So you go ahead and rinse them twice. Here in Florida, we're rinsing off sand. So I'm going to rinse them through really good once again. And I'm going to drain them in my little dish drainer before I put them in the pot, because I want to check this water to make sure that there's not a lot of trash still coming off. There's a little bit, so I'm going to rinse them out one more time. I like to cook my greens in a pressure cooker. It reduces the time down to about 12 minutes. If you don't have a pressure cooker, you're going to want to cook your greens and then your turnips for a total of probably somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour, just depending on how tender you want your greens. So today we are going to add some chopped onions. I'm reconstituting vegetable broth right here. That's all I'm going to need. And I'm going to add some pressed garlic as well as rosemary that I just picked from my garden. This is called an ulu knife. My daughter sent it to me as a gift from Alaska. And this is the bowlish cutting board that you use to go with it. I love this thing. It's great for chopping onions, herbs, anything that you would normally chop up fine or even into cubes. Have you ever tried to chop cranberries? Well, just put a handful in the bottom and you won't have that many runaway cranberries. Maybe one or two will escape, but this is great for something like hard berries that you need to chop. Now, I'm not going to add those yet. Those are going to go in at the same time that I add garlic. And garlic goes in after the onions are soft. Now, I don't have very many greens, so I don't think I'm going to use even half of an onion. It looks like I have a lot of greens, but believe me, they're going to cook down very small. And I'm only cooking a few because I'm really trying not to cook too much. There's only 2 of us now, and I don't need to continue that habit of cooking for an army like I used to. We had a family of 9, and it's been really hard to just cook for 2 of us. But we're doing it. So the onions are going to go right in here. going to add the vegetable broth, just a little bit to get it going. Let's head on over to the stove. The burner is on high. I'm going to add just a little bit of broth at a time. And I just want to get the onions started before I add the leaves. You can absolutely go ahead and add your leaves at this point, but I'm going to add some smoked paprika after the onions are getting soft. And then I'm going to add the garlic and the rosemary at that time. So if you're not adding all those little extras, just go ahead and add your leaves at this time. So I pretty much cooked down that first little bit of broth, and the onions are getting soft. I'm going to add the garlic. The rosemary, a little bit of smoked paprika. Got to add some more broth in before that burns. That's it, we're ready for the greens. Looks like a lot, but that's going to cook way down. So I have it locked down, and I've got my dial set on 2. That's basically the same as 10 pounds of pressure. Whoops, I forgot to add in the extra broth. You don't want to burn this. Even though it's a pressure cooker and even though there's moisture on those leaves, I've done it before and I almost did it again. You cook that water out and it will burn. Look at there. See how much that's reduced already? So I'm going to add the rest of that broth. Look, there's hardly any water in there. That would have burned for sure. Even more. There we go. So I would say that's, for this amount of greens, not even a ½ inch of water on the bottom. All right, let's do this again. You can use a peeler or you can use a knife. It doesn't matter. What you're looking to do here is just take that outer skin off. You don't have to go deep. Kind of peel it like you would an apple or a potato. Now this is about as big as you want to let your turnips get. You let them get bigger than that, they can get woody, they can get tough, and they'll actually be a little bit spicy or hot. So it's just as well that you get them about the size of a tennis ball. That's my ideal width for a turnip. I just want to let you know real quick, some of you have asked me to show you how to make a garden journal in Google Docs. I am working on it, and I will promise you it will be up before this Christmas tree comes down. If I don't get it done before Christmas, it'll be there right after Christmas, so you can work on it in that little bit of a slack time between Christmas and New Year's. My dinner is going to be whole foods, plant-based. Now, I put up these black-eyed peas last spring, and so I'm going to use them for dinner tonight. I'm going to prepare them the exact same way that I prepared the turnips. I'm going to start out with some onion in the vegetable broth, and then I'll add garlic. I'll add my spices to make it a little bit of a smoky flavor, a little bit of spice, And then that's going to be served over rice. It's going to make a delicious meal. Peas over rice. You're going to get your protein. Oh, it's ready. And the turnips and greens going to be your vegetable. Since it's a vegetable dish inside of the pressure cooker, this is called a quick release. You see how quick that came down? Wait for all that noise to come off, so you don't want to open it while it's still got steam in there. And we're going to check this. See how far along it's come. That looks pretty good. Now at this stage, I like to cut the greens up into smaller bite-sized pieces. So you see what I mean? It really doesn't make a whole lot, but that's going to be enough for both of us tonight. Spread that around. Make sure that you've still got enough liquid in there. I think I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit more water. Just to be sure, I'd rather have too much than not enough. And do you see how it's brown on the bottom? That's partly because I almost burnt it, but that's just the color for greens and all the smoked paprika that I put in there. It just gives it a nice flavor. So we're going to shut that up again. And this time I'm only going to cook under pressure for 3 minutes. And by that I mean when it starts steaming, not from the time I put it on the stove, but from the time it starts steaming. 3 minutes is going to be it, max. I ended up only cooking them about 2 more minutes under pressure. I know I can always return them back to the stove, and if I do, it will not be under pressure. I'll just cook them a little longer until I'm satisfied that they're done. They're about, yeah, those are done. Yeah, I'm satisfied that those are done. They will continue to cook just a little bit longer in this hot water. So I'm satisfied. That's it. It's all done. And I'll just keep them in the pot so I can reheat them when it comes time for dinner. Turnips are one of the easiest things that I grow in my garden. I plant them somewhere around the end of September, and you can plant them all the way into the first part of November, and it will still give them time to grow the greens and make their turnips before it's time to pull them up and plant your spring garden. Thanks for watching. Please give it a green thumbs up, and why not subscribe? Turn on all bell notifications, and that way you won't miss any of my garden videos.
Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.